I must say that looks lovely too.
It's very useful.
Is it nicer than the IUR, or is it the same? Or the Sanyo and they're all much of a muchness, are they?
Yeah, it's smaller and cheaper than most, but actually it fits in your pocket, which is
Yes.
very convenient.
And it does the ordinary tape or the small tape?
90 minutes, which is slightly shorter.
I see, but it's the ordinary size tape.
Yeah,
It's not the micro
No,
cassette.
it's the ordinary size. The one problem is that when you have lots of other noise in a noisy restaurant, for example,
Yes.
I've done that occasionally. It's very difficult to hear it back, but for general purposes.
But you would then play it in you have a machine to reduce the noise and you play it back?
My son has a machine that supposedly reduces the noise.
And
I
it
don't quite believe it.
I wasn't able to call your son by his name.
Ethan. Yeah, Ethan.
Ethan. Was that?
I guess he didn't recognize your voice at first.
Another bit.
He's having a difficult time. He was transferred to.
Yes.
He's in film school. And instead of studying Jane Austen, he's studying Orson Welles and whatever. He's making movies and
Yes.
things like that.
Yes. How many words is this going to be? 600?
No, I would say probably more than that.
It will be.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a new.
No, it'll be as much as we talk, but 800. We could talk about anything, although obviously we should.
I didn't know. I thought it was going to just merely a news item.
No. We'll just.
Laughing.
That's how it. X, Y, or Z is in town laughing. Is it promoting his latest production package? Quite the opposite. As a matter of fact, I did want to talk about the book, but I'm glad I picked up the New York Review.
Yes.
So I thought it was a very interesting piece.
Actually, it a lot of writing. That's a lot of writing.
Oh, yeah.
It was spoken at the Chicago prize-giving ceremony in November. It was written for that. It explains its odd. A French writer called Saint-Beuve, it's a conversational term. But it's very nice of you to pick that up because we could talk about that.
Right. Well, one thing that's good about it is that it really does, I think, answer a lot of questions that one might have asked about why you wrote this book now and why, in fact, you're calling it a novel. Because a lot of it is kind of this, but I thought perhaps we could take off a little bit from it. His ambition to be a writer came first, that it was until some true impulse possesses me that you couldn't start writing again.
No, it wouldn't. No, I said something quite different. Running together two things, Mel.
Okay.
The first thing I'm saying is so strange that one should have wanted to be a writer before having anything to write.
Yeah.
It's very cute.
I like it.
It's very. The other thing is that one begins in an artificial way, right? I do.
Mm-hmm.
One arrives at what I know when I'm going to write a book. I tell people I'm going to write a novel. And you were carrying 3 or 4 ideas.
Could you trace back this particular book?
Yes.
And the first impulse to do it as you did it?
If I was to disentangle one impulse from the other, it would take too long. The very first impulse occurs at the very, very end of the...
I mean, at that point you didn't know where the book was headed when you got to that?
No. You talk about impulses, that
Yeah.
idea of a person arriving,
Mm-hmm.
a disturbed person, arriving by night train
Mm-hmm.
at Salisbury. That was an old... That's one. That's your book is made of so many. So the book ends with one of the earliest ideas.
Mm-hmm. Was that passage all written before then, or not?
No, you carried it once.
Could you at all mark the point when you sat to act on?
It just began, as I said in the book, that I began to write. I wrote the beginnings of many books, as I always do. And about kidnapping that goes wrong. The wrong person is kidnapped. The person who's kidnapped, in fact, is the builder, a house builder, the holiday house builder, rather than the man who is trying to beat down the price of the holiday house builder. A mistake is made, a horrible mistake is made. That was something I began to... But then what happened is that, you stop one day writing, and almost in the same day you start writing another thing. And I began to...
That's an enormous leap from the kidnapping story to what
as I said, there are many ideas. One carries many ideas at once. Let me see. I think I actually have it here. That was one book I began to write.
Mm-hmm.
Then I turned to this account of the lady arriving at Salisbury station. I knew how that scene was going to begin. And I I began to write several versions about the cubicle story. I began to introduce the novel proper ends. And that scene where the driver says she's gone back.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first time he meant it's not making sense. That's such a very, very early impulse. To me, that came about 12 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, in this entirely different book, Lightning and Arrival is this.
Uh-huh.
The works of the imagination are so nice.
But what point did the title and the plot arise? Is that after you began writing it or before?
And I always, since I wanted to, as I said in
Yeah.
the section, does that make sense? Any of this make sense to
yes,
you?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. I guess I'm just trying to...
Let me also say this, that I don't want to be put as I'm boasting about it, saying it because you haven't asked. I'm saying, and I want you to assume that your question is asked. I don't want to be spouting it myself. It's not all that experiment. Many writers have taken a lot of pains to establish their own personalities, which is more than establishing their own personalities. Which is establishing, as it were, sensibility through which the narration, through which the world is seen.
Mm-hmm.
All establish their personalities in their writing.
There's one passage in your book, quoting Proust, one bestows on private life and conversation, however refined it may be, as a product of a quite superficial self,
Absolutely.
not the innermost self, which one can only recover by putting aside the world and the self that frequents the world.
Yes,
And
yes.
clearly you identify with...
Very much so. And I found it so odd that Moore should have said the same thing about his writer.
Right, such a range of people, too.
Yes. Because people who write profoundly about writing or think about it seem to arrive at the same conclusions, really.
Does this mean that you compartmentalize yourself? You could think of the innermost self and the outer self that's conversing with me now?
No, I think that's just a matter. That's an analytical thought of Proust, really.
Mm-hmm.
He's worked it out that way. He's thought about it. Oh, but people who meet me in the party and hear me talk. So my real work, when I that odd connection of citing.
The factor here, though, is that more than in your other novels,
Yes.
you are apparently drawing upon
Yes.
not only autobiography but also inner feelings, so to speak.
Now the thing about that, Mel, is this. I said many writers, not all, many, have established their personalities, so you know the kind of person through whom you're seeing the world.
Mm-hmm.
Proust, Moore,
Sure.
Tolstoy, Dostoevsky perhaps not so much, Chekhov not so much. It was tried to do something like what I did. To understand it more clearly, try to work out what would have happened if I hadn't. If I just simply begun to write about country life in England.
What if I'd written a Hardy-esque novel, so to speak, about country life?
Well, then that wouldn't have been what I ever wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's always this eye getting used to that landscape. And you see, the writing personality is only the writing personality. Not a man who's got family, wife, children. You know, that whole bit of life is torn out of this. The man is defined entirely by his writing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was very interesting and very hard to do. The writer is defined truly by his writing.
Although you do see him in
and
relation
by the way he looks.
You do see him in relation to the other people, though, the people who live near him and who are friends.
But that's where the fictive part comes in.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing about the writer, the observer, that is scrupulously myself. But the minute other people are in the picture, that is where the fictive element comes in. My point is that this is not as experimental as it might appear, because there's a lot of autobiography in it.
But yes, very much so.
And it appears a little more startling because it's writing about. And I wanted to make that definition of the sense of it to the story. I have a novel about the people in England.
What would have been the difference? The same life in a different form, though. Here,
I said this is only this life is only this. The writer has been defined entirely by his writing. Now, I don't know what Robert did with it a lot, really more. I was trying to do with the reader, make the reader see as clearly as I could, writing mind work of consciousness and art end, really. So it is the writing life that is being defined, the writing sensibility. Often it's autobiography. I think I'd be run out of town because there is no autobiography there. There's no family, no wife, no friends, no infidelities, nothing, you see.
Well, there are some friends, and there is a...
No, but I mean, in my life,
Oh, I
if
see,
I
yeah.
there'll be
Yeah.
nothing. There'll be nothing about me. There's nothing about me in it, apart from my writing. It was a difficult. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do. I think the initial question arises because in your other books,
Yes.
you life in
Yes.
some form or other. I mean,
Yes.
whether it's
Yes.
relatively close as in
Yes.
Biswas,
But Mel, I'll tell you
or
something,
somewhat
it's been-
apart as in Gorillas.
Yes.
Still, it's things that you've experienced.
Yes. It's been such a burden. The world being what it is, and one's experience being as broken as it has been. A nature, a dual nature. I probably see vision in all my
That would include India, you mean?
And then that becomes, how did that thought begin? Let's begin. Can we get it back on the tape?
Yeah, sure.
Let's get it back on the tape. To set up the fictional scaffolding whereby someone like myself is doing the writing or the observing in the other work. In this book, I do it in my own person, closer to the truth, because this particular experience I want to write, and I blend that in with my fiction. So it might, I don't see it as being too extraordinary. In fact, some people in England say it isn't as extraordinary as I pretend it is.
Did some people, in fact, say that it was very experimental and extraordinary? I wasn't aware of that.
I think some people, there's been some comment about the oddity of the form.
Yeah.
But people say it's autobiography or fictional thing. It's not autobiography. It is this odd way. The autobiography is illusory because the life, the doing life, the family life, the life of the affections is not there.
One thing that's curious about it is that the first time that you're approaching it this way
Yes.
is in effect your first, except for Mr. Stone,
Yes.
it's your first book with an English background.
Yes.
When you handled other areas, whether it was Africa, India,
Yes.
whatever else, it was
Yes.
always
Yes.
from the other point of view, let's say.
Yes.
Was there anything about dealing with England that made you want to use this approach rather than your...
Yes, because I've lived in England for so long. I had to do something. If I wanted to do something. And I'm very glad to do it in a rather simple way. That simple material, that really, a car driver, farm workers, the garden, the garden. I thought that came during the writing. That's the beautiful thing about imaginative writing. When it takes you to unexpected places. One is you write with, you know what you're setting out to do with one section of your mind. But the writing catches fire and you are taken to unexpected places. The theme of the arrival. I'm going to take arrival. The theme of the garden. Many kinds of gardens. Plantation gardens in the Caribbean. Plantations in the Caribbean. Allotments in England. Manor gardens, declining into allotments. Farm workers' gardens. I was a little nervous about it when I discovered that the theme was so dominant. I thought it would be, when people would say it's no more than, we must cultivate one's garden. But
That's oversimplifying it.
Exactly. I thought people might say that
I'm trying to think if you've dealt with gardens before, and nothing comes to mind. It's a motif in other books.
Exactly. But this just came out.
The arrival, of course, has appeared quite.
Yes, it's appeared constant. That's some of the themes in one's work. They occur very early, and one can never get rid of them.
Such as departure and arrival, to deal with that.
I would say Arrival, really. Arrival. Arrival is... Wrote about arrival in the book about him.
Which book?
An area of darkness, chapter about arriving. Is this interesting? Is this boring?
Yes, no,
Is this
no, for me it's interesting. For you it may be boring, but
have we dealt with this enough? Have I made it?
yes, I think that's fine.
But what you had no trouble with the narrative, and I think that most people who are in sympathy with the book have no trouble with it.
Well, it's strange now. The only, I won't call it trouble, but the only difficulty I may have had with it was knowing you and knowing things about your biography, and I did keep wondering as I was reading it, well,
Yes.
what is the nature of the beast? I mean, is it a novel or is it a autobiography? On the other hand, most people who read it, though they may
Yes.
indeed be familiar with your work,
Yes.
will not go in saying, well, this is so, and therefore where is the fictive
Yes.
element?
Yes.
That it should not bother most people. Though I
Yes.
think it seems to, the few reviews I read in New York anyway,
Well, people have to say, it's all, you have to write
they want
about
categories.
things.
They want
Yes, you have to. It's not an easy book to write about. I admire the people who, but I slightly worried about people who have to review it. Really, I wouldn't have liked to review it myself.
How would you have reviewed it?
I think I would have suffered over that. Really, I would have suffered over that. I read very few of the reviews, in fact, but one that I did read was the one in your paper, Mr. Name of very elegantly incident. I thought it admired him enormously as a piece of craft. I thought it was very nice thing.
You did say that reception in London was or in England generally was very strong, and I was curious maybe we could talk about that a little bit. I mean, the idea you said that your barber, for example, was reading, getting your hair cut. He was reading.
Well, let us. If I mention this, this is not to be put by me in a boastful way.
Okay.
This is something you will state as a fact.
Yes.
It is in the bestseller list, and it's never happened to me to be in the bestseller, to be at the top.
Never.
No, I have been in the list before, but in the lower reaches. I'm at the top, and it's still there, and it's staggering.
How do you explain that?
Well, I am rather, I don't know, because I thought it was a book that required a fair amount of attention, and I thought that Johnny, the reader, liked fast food. Johnny.
Well, he still does, but occasionally he wants a good meal, right?
Exactly. So if you go to buy some aspirins for your journey, and there's a man in the shopping bag, and there's your book in his basket behind you, and there's a man in the barber shop who is reading your book. It's staggering.
Is he reading it because he knows you, or he's just reading it?
The word has got to him. It's about his country. I think so. This is my interpretation.
Do you think it's beyond your own area of the country? I mean, would it be clearly it's on a bestseller list? It must be true not just of Wiltshire, that the people in London and other places.
But I don't know how they're compiling it. I don't know how they're compiling it. I don't know.
I mean, the fact that it's an English novel.
You see, I think my feeling is that because it is a contemplative book and a philosophical book, and not an unfriendly book, gives some people new ways of looking at themselves. It's not telling them things they've long ago stopped paying attention to, the country in a state of decline, and this or that. It's
Because the people are still writing about it.
yeah, right, all the time. Yes. They don't respond to that any longer. This is something else, and they're willing to take it slowly.
And perhaps it is.
This is what I feel, because I find that I'm as puzzled by it too.
And perhaps it will be. It is a breakthrough in terms of people in England accepting you as an English writer and not as a writer from another country who lives in England.
No, I think that's a minor thing. I think that's a minor thing, because that's long ago gone in England. Things are not as they were 30 years ago.
Yeah.
The whole world, it's opened up. It's opened up quite a bit.
Have you talked about the book with the barber, the shopkeeper, any of these people? I mean, is there any? interaction with someone who has in fact read the book. Somebody would say to you, as he's cutting your hair, would he say, about chapter?
This man owned the barbershop. He wouldn't cut my
He would
hair.
cut your hair, well.
He would.
In any case, would there be any direct response like that? Perhaps from the people in the book, or the variations thereof.
Yes. No, I haven't. No, I haven't got as far as that. No. I want to see how long it goes on. I want to see whether it lasts 2 or 3 more weeks. You know, that would be extraordinary.
Which you might find.
I think it's philosophical and not unfriendly, and it gives a new way of.
Not unfriendly to England.
Yes, or to anybody. Not. It's conceived in tribute. The whole book is cast. It's conceived as a tribute. All the places.
Several years ago, you said that you were thinking about writing a book that would be celebratory.
Yes.
Now, I'm not sure this is the book that's supposed to be celebratory.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. One says things, and then one has said so many things. You know.
You think? Would you go that far in terms of the friendliness that it's?
I suppose it is so true. I did so feel cherished for those 10 years in Wiltshire. At the land, I actually liked. You saw my house. You know, it was a very small little cottage. It was just a happy accident, a small cottage, nice setting, and it was very, very restful. Yes, in my life, I felt all right.
Do you still live in Wiltshire too now?
Yes, not feeling so good. It's not feeling. It's as though having written the book, it's over. It's all changed. It's all finished now. That's finished. That's one of the things of the book. Again, as soon as you discover or come to an understanding of something, it goes.
I remember looking back, you used to say that you would write about a place after you had been to the place, which you would not sit in India and write a book about India. That would be sometime later.
That's true.
Now, in this case, you wrote the book in Wiltshire? While you were there?
Yes, but away from the original area. Mm-hmm. Away from the original area.
It has to have.
It's nice to exist
in
the mind, you see.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some sifting going on, and the heart and the memory do a little blending.
Well, in this case, you certainly are closer to the geographically speaking.
Much closer. Much closer. Much closer. Yes. So it's a different in that way too. That's a good point. Yes. That's good.
I mean, I just wonder how that feeds the immediacy or the emotion about the situation being. Not that you're going to go next door and research a book or anything, but the idea that you are so close to the original experience, how that affects the writer. It's hard to say.
I didn't do any research. I just confronted what I had in my mind.
Mm-hmm. Did you keep a diary or a journal at all of those years?
No. I keep books on the.
What were your notebooks that you kept for earlier novels?
Yes. I keep when I'm a little lost. Again and again, one writes notes when one is getting started on a book. They tend to be very short. And then again, my notebook is taken up again some years later. So one little exercise book has lasted. I've just come to the end of it. It's lasted 14 years, perhaps 13 and a half.
And hasn't yet given birth to a book.
Oh, many of the books have contained it. Many of the books have contained it.
So would it be possible, even in this case, to go back through your journals and find roots or points where things were inspired?
Yes.
Was there ever a serious false start on this book years ago, or
many false starts?
Many false starts.
I came across a folder with about 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Can't you write again about having opened the door?
I don't know. I wouldn't write another book like this. This special thing about the writer, the land, the new land, all that, the journey.
Your kidnapping story, was that an English one?
No, it was
Have you read many books about the writer's journey? Has that been
Yeah.
and interesting.
A very bad reader, Mel. I very seldom finish a book.
Mm.
I read a lot. I read constantly, but I read about 5 or 6 books at a time.
I remember years ago you were actually a reviewer. You would write.
I think that experience is so burnt that I've celebrated them since by not reading to the end.
Mm-hmm. You don't have to write about it. Why read it to the
Exactly.
end?
I've read certain things to the end. I've read Balzac and Shakespeare
Anything in the last 100 years, though.
and Wuthering Heights. Between the decline of Rome and the Renaissance, a very, very interesting, very, I think, decadent period in Western art.
By the way, John Russell and his wife are among the people coming to dinner on Friday.
Do they want to see me?
Yes, he does, very much. Yeah. That's not for this. That's not for this. But it just reminded me. No, he knows you.
Yes, we met in Dallas. Yes.
No, he was the
Yes.
and his wife too was an art historian.
What's her name?
Rosamund Bernier.
I thought there was another wife called Vera or something. That's it.
That's the one who this is getting off our to talk,
Yeah.
but she does a series of lectures at the Metropolitan Museum that are like the most sought after show in town, as they say. She speaks on all various, just art.
Really?
Star. In any case, to get back to this. Let me look again.
Does it make sense what I've been
Oh
saying?
yes.
Hello.
The passage here too, where you talked about other possible, having decided to be a writer,
Yes.
the possible outlets that are open to one,
Yes.
to write plays, whatever else.
Yes.
And
How did that strike you, the things I wrote about being a playwright?
it was very interesting, and in the idea of putting yourself, watching it on stage.
That's
in
what
fact,
somebody told me,
yeah,
yes.
as you're writing it. And the last part where I marked here was with the artificiality. What part of my experience could be made to fit the form? Wondering, in fact, in the most insidious way, how I could adapt or falsify my experience to make it fit the grand form.
That is what I wrote about.
The grand form's the novel, you mean, is it?
Well, yes, this wonderful form that is the current form, really.
The current, it's not the novel generally, but this specific.
Well, the form of the time, and the way. Yes, I suppose the novel or the story, or the short story, yes.
Could you talk at all about what, explain further from this, but what provoked you to choose the novel form rather than play, poetry?
I suppose, yes. I wish I'd... well, the theatre couldn't be anything to me because it didn't exist in Trinidad when I was a child. My father wrote for the typewritten page or the printed page, and that was his ambition, and he gave it to me. Essentially, there was nothing in my childhood to make me think of the play.
Mm-hmm. Whereas the novel was there, certainly.
The novel was there, and it required only oneself to write, and that was the one. It was the simplest thing to get started on.
Mm-hmm.
Really, of what I have written about today is literally untrue. I wonder whether other writers feel like that. I don't know.
I'm not sure. Have you talked about it with other writers? Are you aware of
That aspect of other writers.
Artificial though the novel form is, with its simplifications and distortions, its artificial scenes, and its idea of experience as a crisis that has to be resolved before
Yes.
life resumes
Yes.
its even course.
What do you think? Don't you think that's the novel? I mean, these scenes, and some people, are to be quite unreadable because of that artificiality. Turgenev, I find very, very hard to read in his novels.
But I was going to say, I don't find anything artificial in your novel. That's about the novel, the earlier novels. I find nothing artificial in reading it. I mean, it has a...
Yes,
Was this book more difficult than the others? Because of that form?
One had just had to wait for it a long time. One just had to wait, because I said when I began to write it, as in all my writing, I actually write very fast. I write a draft in about half a year. Actually, my heart sinks when I start reading some kind of novels. I can't bear to go through it. The artificiality of the form.
The form rather than those specific novels you're reading is the idea of, I don't quite...
The artificiality of the form, even Dostoevsky puts me off, you know. I can sense the way Dostoevsky sometimes wrote his novel, writing this and then doing that and changing and chopping and so many things being possible.
Well, in other words, as a writer, you're too conscious of the form to be able to read other writers comfortably in that form? Is that
correct? That's correct. I think that's well put. That's well put.
Maybe that's why playwrights walk out of plays.
I can.
You don't have to close the book; you just leave the room. Sure.
Yes.
That's real self-consciousness. On the other hand, I mean, whatever art you're in, one should be aware of what your peers, present and past, are writing or have written. Of course, you are because of your background. Do you try to read modern novels at all? Would you even? Years ago, I remember you saying something about you let it simmer, you let it sit for
I like
20 years or something.
I like for it to wait, and I like to wait and let it settle down.
Mm-hmm.
Let it settle down.
What was the last contemporary novel you read to the finish?
I'm sure I make bad comments about these contemporaries.
Unless you're a critic.
Unless you were critical. But a book I read with enormous admiration was Anthony Bell's fourth of the series. I'm very actually taken by it. Very original, very original. Its form, to me, it's a great excitement. Original and true to the nature of his experience, you know, the man looking back. Very, very true of that kind of way of apprehending experience, rather than manipulating a plot, you know. And the book is called The Acceptance World. Very lyrical bits, very lovely things, very packed, almost short, but greatly admired.
Have you read the other ones in the cycle? Or?
Yes, I've read a lot of them, but going back to this one after many years, I thought how nicely it had matured, you know, like it had
Writing a cycle.
I think it was because the form was so original. His form was original and true, because true. He found his own form, and the form was suited to the material he had to present, and his way of looking at it. It was right. Found it right, which is part of that essay. So my wish to write about England, and write after all these years, the matter of not just writing a novel, getting a novel, but of trying to achieve this kind of truth about seeing the land change, and from not understanding the people, as the attempts to write show right in the beginning of one's arrival, the start of one's stay in England, understanding them, not making English jokes about them, not making English class jokes. I was determined not to do that. I think that might also be a feature of its attraction. It doesn't make judge class very seriously. It appears it takes it very, very seriously. It doesn't make jokes about it.
What is true from the English novels recently that I've seen, or plays in fact, more so, the English sense of humor is riding high still. I mean, that people, the idea of making fun of classes and specific people and so on.
Yes.
So it's always been current, and perhaps even more so in the theater in the last few years or so.
What plays are you thinking of?
David Hare's plays, for example. Our friend David Hare.
Yes.
I
haven't seen his work.
I know.
I haven't seen his work.
But he's an obvious example. His friend Howard Brenton. Christopher Hampton, all of them, in fact, are very satiric.
About
sardonic playwrights
about class,
about their own people and about class. And
yes.
Occasionally about Americans as well.
Yes.
And that it definitely was not your desire. I mean, to block that
not,
off.
because I think you set the minute you start writing like that, you really are writing in an old tradition, aren't you? You are doing somebody else's writing. It's like railroads. Jumping on a railroad, bang, you get to the terminus. You have 100 writers jumping on this glass railroad, and they hit the buffers, the same buffers.
The whole train is tilting.
Yes, they hit the same buffers. They make the same stops too. And they're real people, and they're making a real journey, but they're making the same journey.
Now, in contrast to that, you're pedaling your bicycle through the English countryside, seeing it as you see it. You really do feel affection for the people that you're writing about, for the various workers in the field and the
I have never written about. I've never written about. I would say, in adult life. And adult life begins when I was about 30, a little before. Ever written, even in my journalism, about people with whom I didn't feel sympathy. But in a way, it's. And I'm thought to be a tough writer.
I was just going to say that.
But I'm very soft. And you see, if I go and meet someone, I spend so much time trying to see the world through his eyes, from his point of view. And I very often succeed. I can see it very clearly how he looks at things.
It seems to me that sometimes you're more sympathetic than other times. I mean, the one book that doesn't immediately come to mind is Gorillas, which has I would say, harsher, more critical attitude towards some of the characters than some of the other books. Would you not agree? Or?
No, the book is full of. Gorillas is about murder. It's an act of murder, and that's a terrible subject. Not murder as a gay or. But the extinction of a life, and it's about horror. And I made a television film in London about me for this book. It lasted an hour, and the producer, she did it all herself. Chose something from Gorillas, right to, and I was very moved an actor read it out. And oddly enough, a bit of the actual act of murder.
Horrifying scenes.
Then he has a dream at being among stone sarcophagi. Woman producer, it doesn't that. He has a vision. But if you use this, you must just say I meant, and you will have. I'm just defining it for you to find it and use it. And then he moves up from that. He isn't lost. He understands it. He's real, but he sees himself in a catacomb with dead women who are not dead, lying in stone sarcophagi, and one of the dead women gets up, turns out to be scarred like a Somali woman in London, and the lilies fall off her body. Exude reaches out a hand to him and says, "Nigger, give me a dollar." And the man thinks, trade again, even now. The actor who read it was Roshan Singh, who did the thing, yes.
Yes, who did the thing.
Yes, yes.
As we refer to it.
Yes, yes. This strikes me as my thing. I don't think I've been able to write about it. You see, it wouldn't be worth my while to write about people if I wasn't sympathetic with them.
It's curious, because certainly your image, and again, I'm not so sure whether this isn't so much the, so to speak, public image as you as an artist.
Yes.
But the image certainly is of you being a very acerbic
Yes.
person.
Yes. But it helps people.
Critical.
Yes, people need these pictures, and writers have to live with these myths about themselves.
But you're saying that in your books you feel, in your art you feel.
I said since I've been adult, I've not written about people without being able to adult.
Soft, in fact, you said before, was a word interesting.
Hmm?
Soft was the word that you mentioned before. You thought you were.
Did I? Yes, I said yes. A bit of a softy, really, because I can meet very dreadful
That's-
people or politicians and end up seeing the world through their eyes, seeing their frailties, their needs, and somehow once you understand that, you write through, you write. But that's the novelist's gift, isn't it? The gift of
Well, looking
empathy.
Looking back through your work, is there anyone that you would say would not, any major figure that would not qualify, that you really just did not have sympathy for, did not want to have sympathy for?
No, even when people have been funny and I made jokes about them.
Yeah.
Bend in the River.
Bend in the River, certainly.
All those people. The reason for that, you see, Mel, is very simple. All these things are aspects of oneself. The only person you have to refer to in order to understand other people is yourself. The point is made in the book very often. So aspects of yourself occur with all the characters, aspects of oneself, or contain aspects of oneself.
Including that.
And this gives, in fact, one's work a great unity right through. Because one can underwrite about these aspects of them.
Including the character in Gorillas, who seemed to me that the furthest removed from.
They're all part of it.
Conjure up a name of someone who seemed to be at a departure. I said the Gorillas was the first one to come to mind, but I suppose the others know that.
In a free state, all those people to me, a lot of affection for all of them.
That Indian arriving in Washington, was it, in that story?
All of them.
And even going back
Well,
to
you
Mr.
see, you
Stone.
go to a place like Africa in 1966. People are behaving badly. But the future is so obvious and patent. One is so frightened for the people around one. You can't be angry with them. You have to write about them in this other way.
Well, is there at all a distinction?
Or that colonel looking on with his hotel, with those people. It's rather horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible for him too.
Is there a distinction that should be made between your fiction and nonfiction? When you do your nonfiction books, and you have to give a portrait of a political leader or man of the street, whatever it would be.
Yes, there's always a distinction there between fiction and nonfiction. A work of fact has clearly defined boundaries, and they are the boundaries as the writer defines them. Fact is fact. It begins at A and it ends at, should we say, Z. That's fact. It's within the frame. A work of the imagination has so many, is much, much more. It correctly intends. If it doesn't do more, then probably it isn't very good. It has all kinds of other elements of which the writer is not aware. That is why when people review your books or say things about your novels, especially novels, you have to, not in the sense of taking tips, but they're probably seeing something there.
But more with the novels than with the.
Oh,
nonfiction.
absolutely, yes, with the novels. There is that, the novel deals with the imagination. A work of the imagination attacks the imagination. When you read a work of the imagination, you're invited to enter, to have an adventure. You're reading a work of fact, you're getting facts. There is a difference, isn't it? One, you live within one. You live within one.
Except, of course, in your nonfiction books,
Yeah.
you're going far beyond facts. I mean, you're giving points of view. You're discussing attitudes. It isn't journalism.
Yes, but you're not in. But one is invited to witness. Really, one is asked. You asked to witness.
Well, you are our witness in your nonfiction books.
Yes, and you are asked to be a witness with me. But in a work of the imagination, you're being invited to enter.
Or what about the question of empathy, which we talked about then in the fiction? Do you feel that at all when you're doing nonfiction? Do you have to, or do you necessarily empathize?
Oh, you must feel empathy too.
With all the people you're talking to?
Yes, because I find journalism is really, really hostile to the people. It's interviewing or something. It's silly. I went to Grenada at the time of the American invasion. People I spoke to there, one tried to understand them, how they could become communist in that little island, how they could develop their ideas. One tried to understand them. Did, and some of them were really quite pathetic, you see. Became figures of pathos. Did you read my Grenada piece? It probably wasn't right. It was in a paper called Harper's.
I don't think I understood it. It doesn't appear in the New Yorker or the New York Review.
I understand.
Those are your two
Is it clear now, is what I'm saying, or is it difficult?
Well, I'm still trying to understand the thing about the. Because I can understand empathizing with all the characters, but when it comes to the nonfiction, what if you're talking to a dictator? I mean, someone who you would have no respect for?
I haven't met one.
Haven't met one yet.
I haven't met a dictator yet. No.
Yeah.
No.
I guess part of the problem again goes back to you yourself, and when I think of the very critical, sometimes violently critical things that you might say about whether it's English publishers or I don't know, countries intruding in other countries and whatever else.
Yes.
That when you speak it, certainly.
Yes.
One doesn't always detect the sympathy within the cynicism, let's say. And I think what you're saying is that in your nonfiction books,
I think the writer is always different from the speaker, you know.